You can support cancer patients with me. We can support them together. How do we do that? Well, you're in the right place. It's 9 o'clock and it's time for Knit at 9. It's my knit-a-thon. Welcome to the knit-a-thon. This is all in support of the American Cancer Society and your donations to my fundraiser for the American Cancer Society sponsors projects for me to knit. And the knitted projects that I make are going to cancer patients, patients going through chemotherapy. And if you look at my calendar, these are all the projects that I am scheduled to knit throughout the month of November. In November, there's daily knitting. And as you can see here, there's 4 more slots available. We had another generous donator yesterday. Thank you, Kelly. If you have questions about how to sponsor an item and how to donate, just pop in a question mark in the chat and I will answer your question. Or you can comment here live and ask your question. And of course, you can comment if you're watching us on the replay. So I want to share with you what we're working on today. Today's project is sponsored by Laura. Laura is my sister, by the way. Hey, chica. So we're using these bright colors. She loves bright colors. We're using this bright colors. This is red heart yarn. We're going to have this red faux fur puff. Red is my favorite color, by the way. Just saying. Of course, the tag that shows it was handcrafted with love. We have our button, we have our darning needle, we have our scissors, and our crochet hook in case we need it. All the things. So the goal is to knit every day. My challenge is to do it live, and my other challenge is to do it within the hour. So let's get started. So I'm using my Addi circular knitting machine here. It has 46 pins on it. We're going to first cast on by hooking the very first needle, which is this black needle. And we're going to weave this yarn in and out of the pins to get this party started. I always try to do this as slow as possible. It's like hand-eye coordination, or in my case, left hand, right hand coordination to crank the machine and get in front and behind of these pins fast enough. So we've cast it on, and I'm going to set my counter to 0 because on the beanie caps, the chemo beanies, we're doing at least 120 rows. And so this first row, I'm going to hold it a little tight, just making sure that my stitches catch. And the clicking you hear, it's usually like the first 2 rows, but the clicking will stop after this row. Now it's going to stop. So I'm going slow with this yarn because I have a few skeins of this, and when I used it the first time, when I used this yarn the first time, I had so many slipped, tucked, drop stitches. I had all the things. And I think it's just because this yarn is, I don't know, it's the fibers that just don't want to glide or slide on the machine. So I'm going to have to take this one a bit slow and just keep an eye out on the stitches to make sure nothing happens. I want to make sure nothing happens. Just giving myself some slack here on the yarn. Sounds like it needs a bit of oil, right? but it's okay. It doesn't. As I'm going around here and checking out my stitches, everything looks to be falling into place. And one of the things that I do is I have some Aveeno lotion, like natural lotion, and I rub a little bit of that on my hands just to make sure that my yarn isn't so stiff, so to speak. And I like to use the Aveeno because it doesn't have a scent. It's sensitive yarn. It's yarn for sensitive skin. And, I just make sure that my hands are not dry. It's like static or something on the yarn if there's no moisture in my fingers. It's like dry on dry. Creating static in the yarn makes it not slide very good on the machine. But it's coming together with this little knot here. Let me take you closer to the project because I'm sure that's what you want to see. As you can see, the colors changed. This yarn is so cool because you can see as it grows this rainbow of gorgeous color. Your support definitely means so much to people that are going through chemotherapy or those that have a cancer diagnosis. Now we're in a blue phase of the color change. Oh, so pretty. As I'm looking at the camera and looking at the project, the colors don't transfer exactly on the camera because this is purple at the very top. Like this row right here is purple, and then this is blue. The blue I can see on the screen, the purple looks like almost looks blue to me. I'm curious, like what color does this look like to you if you're watching? If you're watching on the replay, comment and tell me what color does this look like? This one is blue, but what color does this look like to you? Because it is purple, but on my screen it doesn't look like that. I'm just wondering what it looks like for you. Now we're coming on to the red. Let's see who we have. Now it's getting a brighter red. So pretty. These colors are so pretty. Jackie, if you're watching this, this is the color scheme or pattern that I had in mind for a project for you based on our conversation. Seriously, not in this orange. We're at row 50. And here comes the yellow, the orange and the yellow. It's like a sunburst. So pretty. Now comes the green. Can you guess what color is coming up after the green? Guess what's after the green? It's actually a different shade of green. It's a bit of a darker green right after. So we are halfway there. We're at 66 rows. So if you wanted to do like a skull cap or one that was not double lined, you'd be able to stop right here and just gather the top and have it be a bit shorter. And now, since this project has reached the table, it's going out. But I want to just roll this up just to make sure that it doesn't cause any issues. And you can see all the colors, most of the colors this way. So pretty. Good morning, Pamela. Oh, wow. You have a 12 peg knitting loom. That's cool. Oh, and you were checking out the color that's coming after the green. You are right. Yellow. So here's the green, and now it's coming up yellow. You're absolutely right. Hopefully, you're having a good morning. So, what are you making on the knitting loom? Can you make socks on there? I actually want to get a smaller pin machine so that I can make some socks. A couple of years ago, I knitted, well, actually, I crocheted um, stockings for everyone for Christmas. I'll have to insert a picture next time. But I'm curious I'm not curious. I'm interested in making socks on a smaller machine and stuffing those for Christmas stockings. I think that would be cool. I'm glad this skein of yarn is going much better than when I tried this yarn the first time. I'm not having any dropped or tucked stitches, which is great. I am taking it a bit slower this time too. I think that helps. We're at row 96, going to 120. Actually, we may do 125. Oh, Pam, I'm glad you're having a good day, and I'm glad the knit at 9 can make it a little bit brighter, especially with this sunshine that we have going on this morning. That's awesome. So you bought a 12 peg loom to make a scarf that you're still working on. Oh, can't find. Well, I definitely understand that. I can relate to that, Pam. I have it's called an ultimate sweater knitting machine. And I bought this a long time ago. Just to let you know how long ago I bought this machine. I found it in the bottom of my closet, dig it out of the closet. And when I was unpacking the box, I put everything back in there, quite nice and neatly because I knew that when and if I pulled it out again, I didn't want to hunt and search for any of the parts. So the parts were put back in there as if it was brand new out of the box. But there was a partial project still on the machine that I had started and had finished, similar to what you just said. But also, like I said, just to let you know how old this machine is, in the instructions, there was a piece of paper that said, watch the video for full instructions. And the video was a VHS tape that came with it. So that just tells you how old that machine is that have, and when it came out, and how long I've had it. I've had it for quite some time, to say the least. And I don't know where that VHS is. I do have a VCR somewhere in another closet, but I don't know where the VHS tape is. The VHS tape may still be in the VCR. But I say that to say I definitely understand um, what you mean, and I'm excited to see that project. I'm excited to learn more about your 12-page dream. That sounds cool. We're at 119, and I just now decided that I'm going to go to 125. One, just a few more rows. yarn. This is the last row right here. So when I get back to the flat, I'm going to stop. So I'm going to, this is the end of our rows, and I just want to measure this yarn around the circumference of the machine before I do cut it. Take this out of the Golden Gate Bridge, knit this last one, and then thread my darning needle so that we can pick up these stitches. So we're going to continue to crank slowly so that I can pick up all of the stitches, and that takes the project off of the machine. That's actually a very good question. I have found, Pam, you were asking about the video for that machine that I have. I have found a YouTube channel that helped me to learn how to set the machine up. Like, I still have the paper instructions that were in there, and I did find a YouTube channel that has instructions. So not having the VHS videotape is not um, doesn't hinder me totally. So I did figure out how to set it back up and how to use it. And my plan was for this knit series, this knit-a-thon, I was going to do my pillows on that machine and then do everything else on this machine. Minus, of course, the flowers that are hand crocheted. The bookmarkers are hand crocheted. But when I was practicing with that machine, it was really hard. Like, hard meaning, I guess I'm not strong enough. Or like the position that I was in, because I have it on the table that's behind me. And it's a long crafting table. It's a dream cart from Create Room. Plenty of space for the machine itself. I'll have to take a picture and show it next time. But it was too challenging to where I didn't feel like I was going to be able to do it within an hour. So one of these days I'll work to really understand how to use it again and make something. But not for this knitting series. Good morning, Kelly. Yes, these colors are very cheerful. And you're not late. You're never late. You're always right on time, even if you watch the replay. Uh-oh, I think I just split this. There. But thank you for tuning in, Kelly, whatever time you join us. This yarn makes me think of Skittles with all the color variation that's going on in here. Very cheerful. Very colorful with the reds. Red happens to be my favorite color. And Red was the first color that started this yarn. So it's going to be the color of our full fur palm. It's going to be on the top of the hat. Using ombre colors and variegated colors, yarns that change on their own. Of course, if we didn't have this yarn changing colors on its own like that, we could just switch up the colors ourselves. Just like that gorgeous scarf that you created, Kelly, with those different colors. How many different colors or of yarn did you have in there? It was so pretty. Oh, so pretty. So we are at the last stitch. Okay, now our project is off the machine. So I'm going to move my machine here, unclamp it from the table. Screws go. Unclamping the machine. Get out of the way. Do we have scuff marks? We do. Scuff marks from the feet on the Addi. Just spray a little alcohol on here. Alcohol and magic eraser gets those scuff marks right up. Okay, so let's take out that darning needle. Look at those colors. Oh, so pretty. So I'm going to stretch it this way. I'm going to stretch it this way. Find the ends. Make sure it's on the ends. Yeah, that's the one we started with. This is the end. So I'm trying to unravel it as much as I can. Actually, you probably want to see this more than you see me. And we're going to pull the drawstring. Just one more time. And you can see all of the loops that are on this drawstring. And these are the loops that we're going to go through when we bind it together. I actually thought we had more red on this end. Just trying to evenly distribute the gather. So since this is going to be the top, I'm going to. Oh, okay. This, we actually did 125 rows. 120 rows is usually what I do on a beanie. And depending upon like the thickness or the weight of the yarn itself and how stretchy it is, I may go a little bit longer if it feels kind of stiff. This feels, a little stiff. So I wanted to go a little bit longer just to make sure I had enough stretch. So we did 125 rows. Yeah, I like these colors too. Like I said, it makes me think of sherbet and Skittles. Oh, that was one skein? Wow. I thought that was a few different colors. Now, was that your favorite yarn, Kelly? I love that yarn because that was so pretty. It really looked like you had about three or four different skeins that you changed the color on. I love the color variation changing on its own like that. Cool. Yeah, this yarn right here is Red Heart. This way. Stripes. The name of the color is Stripes. But it's a Red Heart yarn called Stripes. So since this is the top, we're going to feed this inside for our double walled beanie. Wait, yeah. So I'm putting my hand through here so that I can pull it through. And then find that tail so I can pull it out. And then line it up with the other tail. And then on the inside, I'm just trying to flatten it out and smooth everything together. Yeah. So the bright one is what we started, and the darker one is where we ended. And this is the one I'm going to use to weave the hat together. You're welcome, Pam. You're welcome. Yes, Kelly. So pretty. So, so pretty. Okay, so we're going to start on the inside. Just looking at my stitches to make sure I can see all of them. And then on this side, making sure I see all of them. I don't want to stitch the drawstring and it won't draw. I think this is the first one. Okay, so now we're going to go into this one first. First on the inside, and then we're going to go through on the outside. And then we're just alternating back and forth. inside stitch, outside stitch, inside stitch, outside stitch. I wish I had a zoom on my phone. I wanted to share with you today um, a little bit more of why providing this comfort to chemotherapy patients is near and dear to my heart because when my mom was going through chemotherapy, she was such a trooper, always in good spirits, always had a smile on her face while going through the treatments anytime we were at the center. But I knew, of course, that it was taking a toll on her. Um, but like I said, she kept her mind in the right place. Her mind was focused on her creator and knowing that he had her throughout everything. And I just want to share with you some really cool pictures of just to show her spirit and her sense of humor throughout her situation. So cool. So when I look at this picture, it is really showing how her sense of humor was always there. She'd do these Snapchats with me, even though she may not be feeling up to it. But of course, I was trying to put a smile on her face, and she was entertaining me. We were entertaining each other. But such a good sense of humor. And even the picture on the far right, I got her one of those pink wigs when she did lose all of her hair. And then she was definitely entertaining me by putting this on. She was like, "Girl, I'm not wearing that pink wig." She's like, "But I'm gonna put it on so you can take a picture." And it was fun. It was fun for both of us, actually. Very good sense of humor, and like I said, always at the center with a smile on her face, regardless of the situation, what was going on, and how she was feeling. That's definitely one of the reasons why supporting cancer patients is so near and dear to me because cancer is in my family, mom, sisters, aunts, cousins, all affected by it. And I just know the toll that it takes on the individual and on the family. So, whatever I can do to support, I am all in. Definitely all in. So, I like to look at back at these pictures of when she was here, even though the last days here were, very challenging for her. Like I said, she always had a smile on her face, and I appreciate that. I have very good memories of her and the things that we did, and just her spirit. I just always can look back on those good times. And even though I'm sad that she's not here. I know where she is, and I know that she has a brand new body and is loving the fact that she's sitting at the feet of Jesus and Has no more pain. Being able to provide some cozy comfort to other people that are going through a similar situation, it gives me comfort as well. Which is why I was the first one to donate to my knit-a-thon fundraiser, put a project on the calendar for myself. And I so appreciate all of you donating as well. Thank you, Kelly. So beautiful. Yes, beautiful spirit. She is a beautiful spirit. So we're getting to the end of this cap. So glad the stitches were cooperating. I just find the metal darning needles are so much easier to go through the stitches than the plastic ones. Well, plastic ones do work though. There's definitely another way to cinch up your chemo caps, your beanies at the end, where you would just pull the drawstring on the inside and pull the drawstring on the outside and then tie them together. Like you don't have to cinch it together or seam it together the way that I am. I just like the finished edge look. I like this finished look, um, which is why I just take the time to do it this way. Oops. Now at the end here is where the stitches can be hard to see. Let's see, I think it's this one and this last one right here. And when your yarn ends up on opposite sides of each other, you know that you've gone all the way around. Take that out. Just cut this off a little bit more because we don't need quite that much. And starting with the inside yarn, I'm going to start to gather it together just as I'm gathering, a little bit at a time. Then we do that outside. So the inside yarn is going around once, but that outside yarn is going around twice. So the outside one may be a little bit more challenging to pull, but you should still be able to get it. Then I can pull. Try not to rip it. Let's see what the other side looks like. This is what the other side looks like. Okay. So I think that's good. Okay, so now I'm going to actually cut it a little bit more. So I can thread the button. I was trying to decide what color tag to put on here. I just figured something neutral to match this button would probably be the best thing with all of these other colors on here. So I tied this in a very tight tie, not a knot. Then I'm putting a bow. Then I'm doing another double bow. And that's just in case someone wants to take off the button if they want to wash it. And I'm going to use my crochet hook and jimmy it through the hole just so that I can grab this faux fur elastic. And uh-oh, I lost the end. Gotta feel for it. Aim it in the right direction. Okay. Now I've hooked it and pulling it through here. And then just wrapping it around the button. Pulling out that tie. Okay. So now we have that. We can turn it on the right side. And we have our red at the top with our faux fur puff palm. And I saw a little trick. Do you see how this is flared out a little bit? But if you take your hat and grip it and just fling it on the table, it then straightens out the flare. So I'm just going to flip this up. I think with this one, we may have been okay with doing 120 rows, but the 125, I think that it still gives, a little bit of grace or gradient for those large heads. So with this flip, since it's going to be sitting here on the green, I wonder if I can get a green piece. Like I have this other hat that I created. This is actually the other hat that I started with, and I had to frog that because it did not work up right the first time at all. So I had to start it over. And I'm glad that I actually tested this particular skein before creating this one because I knew after testing it that I wanted to make sure that I didn't create the static, so to speak. And by that, I mean that I wanted to make sure that my hands were kind of moisturized and just softening the fibers with that Aveeno Nature lotion as it was going through the machine, just to help to make sure that the project was sliding down the pins because I kept getting tucked stitches and it was not nice. But I just want to use green since this is the position of where it's sitting on the hat. going to go through a couple of times. And on this one, I'm just going to come back out in the front and weave through a few of these stitches. And then weave it into the middle since this is double walled. I can pull this, then stretch it back. Just, and it will get swallowed in. Let's weave in this last one here. Split the yarn. So this is going to go into the back. Weave in and out of a couple of stitches and put it into the double walled layer. And that way I can then stretch it to make sure that it gets swallowed up inside. Look how cute. Oh, let's do the tag. Pull this down. This here. Just going to pull both of these strings through so I can tie a bow. And that just makes it easier to take off the tag. How cool! So let me put up here. I know, Pam. Isn't that so cute? Those colors are cool. Very bright. And as I'm looking at it on the camera, like the colors don't even look as bright on the camera as they do in person. You know how they say pictures don't do it justice. Pictures don't do this justice. It is so pretty. I love it. I love it. So this project was sponsored by Laura, handcrafted with love, and it's so cute. I like this. And I was going to say again, Jackie, if you're watching, these are the colors that I had in mind for you. The conversation that we had offline. These are the colors that I had in mind for you because I created it again. I just have to seam this one up. Jackie, this one's for you. Awesome. So that takes us to our knitting at 9 with the beanie. The Our project is very doable. I love to create the beanies during our knit at 9 because we're able to get through everything. Pam says, I wonder, can I make my next scarf using this type of yarn? So Pam, what yarn were you using before? Like what type of yarn have you used? Is it usually like a really thin, soft baby yarn? Or is it, kind of thick like this? This is a worsted weight. This is like a 4. Like if you look on the back of this package for the Red Heart, it has the number 4 as far as the size of the yarn. And then it gives you, this isn't focusing. It also gives you the size of the hook. If you're using a crochet, it gives you the size of that, and it gives you the size of the knitting needles if you're knitting it. But I find that the suggested hooks that they tell you, of course, works with that particular yarn. But if you want your project a bit tighter, you can always use a smaller size, a smaller gauge yarn. If you want your project a bit looser, you can use a larger hook or needle, and that'll make your stitches, a bit looser. Oh, you were using chunky yarn. Um, Maybe let's see. What number is this? This chunky yarn that I have right here. I love chunky yarn, by the way. This one, oh, got it backwards. Oh, wait. Okay, so this is super bulky and it actually says 6. So this is probably close to the size that you were using because this one says 6. I don't know if you can see that right here. This is a super bulky. This is 6. I can imagine that scarf was or is going to be so cute. If you know what you could do, one of the things that I have done on projects, like if you have yarn that's this thickness, you can use two strands together, two or three strands together. I have definitely done that for a blanket where I think I had about four different strands together. So rather than just, feeding this one, you're going to have multiple strands that you're working with together to make it a bit thicker if that's a color that you want, if you want that color um, variety there. So that's an option to use multiple skeins together to make it a little bit thicker. I'm not sure if you need to have that thickness on the loom that you're using, but that's an option. Yep. You said that's from Hobby Lobby. What's from Hobby Lobby? Oh, okay. Burnett Soft and Chunky Yarn. What's this? Let's see. I have another one down here. I have some. This is Yarn Bee. What is this one? This is also a chunky one. This is Yarn Bee, but it's also like the size six chunky yarn. So that's similar. I was wondering if I had some of that Burnett soft that you're talking about. This one. Um, I think I know what you're talking about, though. I think it's similar to that beige one that I showed you with the orange stripes. Cool. So, all right, sponsors and Knit at Nine enthusiasts, we are at the top of the hour, and that's the end of our Knit at Nine series. But I look forward to seeing you tomorrow for another project. Thanks for tuning in.